Hello, you guys. Welcome back to our bathroom conversation. I am Kobe Campbell. I'm a licensed trauma therapist, speaker, and I talk to y'all about mental health, faith, relationships in the bathroom. Today, I want to talk about the power of repetition. I want to talk about when you pray for something and God answers with something else, and how that oftentimes is the answer to the end goal. So I did my bibliotherapy, which is a 6-week Bible study on mental health and faith. And it is half experiential group, which is the modality that I love and utilize the most. And then the other half is that it's a support group and Bible study, right? That it was an opportunity to take like the therapeutic qualities that are safe to do in groups with biblical teaching, understanding, exposition, and put it all together. And it was incredible. I really don't have any words. The level of breakthrough and healing that people experience. So excited to do it again. But let's get into what I want to talk about today. The reason why I brought this up is because it reminded me of what I talked about at bibliotherapy. So repetition is a huge part of healing. Repetition is a huge part of change, period. When we think about the physical body, you can't work out once and expect to get the end goal of being ripped. I would like to believe that's true. Unfortunately, it's not, right? You cannot read something once and quickly remember it or recall it. The average person can't. Some people can, right? We cannot try something once and say it didn't work, I'm done. But many of us do that in our healing journey, and many of us do that when it comes to our mental health journey specifically. And we do that with God too. I prayed and I didn't get an answer. I went to therapy for 2 months and it feels like nothing is changing. But what if the change is in you continuing to try, even if you don't see the end result in the moment? The brain's neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to change and shift. When the brain changes and shifts, it changes and shifts how we think, how we feel, how we interact with the world around us. And neuroplasticity is rooted in repetition. It means doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, right? Think about a road that's being paved. If somebody takes a shovel and paves a road once and someone drives over it, you might see a little bit of like, oh, okay, I can see some tracks. But if someone drives over it year after year after year, there's going to be a clear path. And the thing about the brain is the brain loves clear paths because clear paths are easier to use, right? So the more you do something, the easier it is for you to do it. The more you pray, the easier it is for you to pray. The more you're in community, the easier it is for you to be in community. The more you read, the easier it is for you to read. That when you do something over and over again, you're actually reshaping your body's ability and building a disposition towards the thing that you're doing in the first place, right? So I think about Luke 17. We talked about this in bibliotherapy. And there are these 10 men who are lepers. And they say, Jesus, have mercy on us. Have pity on us. I think that's the exact words. They say, show us pity. That means simply look at me and feel bad. Like, feel the pain I'm in. Pity is not always bad, right? But instead, he says, go to the priest and go show yourselves to the priest in the temple. Which is like, I asked you to have pity on me. Why are you telling me to go to the priest? Well, in this Jewish context, you could only go to the priest if you were clean. People who were unclean were not allowed in the temple. That's where the priests were. And so he's literally telling them, they're saying, have pity on me. And he's saying, go take this journey. And the destination of the journey is only for people who are clean, only for people who are healed. I want you to think about that. They're saying we're sick, we're marginalized. Have pity on us. Don't you see how bad this is? And he's like, go take a journey that's reserved only for people who are clean. And if you keep reading, it says, and they were healed when? As they went. They were healed as they went. What I find so interesting about this passage is that it doesn't tell us when the healing happens. It just tells us that the healing happens in the journey. It doesn't tell us that they were healed at the first step, the second step, the third step. It doesn't say on the 15th step, they felt the Spirit of God descend on them and they were transformed. No, it just says that when they got there, the healing happened. And I think that if we held on to that idea when it comes to mental health, when it comes to healing our trauma, when it comes to being conformed into the likeness of God, if we just held on to the idea that maybe God's calling me into a direction that does not feel like it aligns with who I am right now, and maybe between now and then, I'll become the person that God's calling me to be. Maybe I'm saying, God, my heart is broken, and he's like, go start a business. And you're like, how do those two things connect? Maybe each step of creating that business is going to bring me a healing that I didn't know was possible. Maybe you're saying, I'm lonely, and God's like, start a small group. And you're like, well, I don't know anybody. Maybe in each step of starting that small group, you'll become someone who can lead people, right? Not just someone who knows people, but someone who can lead people. That along the way, as they went, they were healed. There are 10 of them. They all could have been healed at different points. We don't know, but all we know is they took a journey that was reserved for someone who had healing, but they were not healed yet. It took the repetition of step after step after step after step after step in the path and in the direction that God gave them for them to be able to experience a healing. Now, here's what I think is beautiful when we think about this on a neurological level. By the time they get there and experience the healing, their brain now has reference for the idea that healing can be a product of persisting in one direction, even if the result does not come immediately. Some of the greatest gifts that God's given me is not answering my prayer immediately and showing me that if I keep striking the ground, something might happen. What's the saying? Doing the same thing and expecting a different result is called insanity. Sometimes doing the same thing and expecting a different result is faith. It's saying, no, I think God is actually working something in me that will then bear fruit on the outside of me, in my life, in my environment, right? Any person who knows, you have to consistently set boundaries for people to honor boundaries around you and for people to attribute a boundary personality to who you are. You can't set a boundary once and be like, I'm boundaried. I don't do that. No. If you set a boundary once, they're going to think you set a boundary once. But as you continue to set boundaries, one, you're building the internal muscle of confidence. You're building the neurological pathways of assuredness to say, like, I'm okay with being disliked. I'm okay with dealing with the obstacles. Also, as you continue to do the same thing over and over, you are getting wisdom in different ways based on the different obstacles that you face along the path that God's called you to, right? The wisdom's in the repetition too. It's not just about the end goal, it's about the journey to the end goal. And sometimes the journey to the end goal gives us the resources that we need at the end goal, right? These men are walking towards this temple to be confirmed as healed. Jesus tells them to do something that confirms that they will be healed. But to receive the fullness, the fruition, the manifestation of what Jesus said about them, they had to walk the journey. And I think that's the case for a lot of us, that God has spoken something to us, about us, for us, but we're standing in front of him and he's like, I already said you're this thing. Now you have to walk out this path that will allow you to experience the manifestation of this thing, right? All things that grow in unseen places first. A seed cracks open and grows down before it breaks ground and grows up. The same thing is true of our mental, emotional, spiritual healing and growth, that we're going to keep doing the same thing over and over. And as we do it over and over, it's going to shift something inside of us long before anyone can see the evidence of it on the outside of us. And so I want to give this encouragement for someone who feels like I've been doing the same thing and it's not working. No, it is working. It's working in unseen places in you. And at some point, you'll get to see the fullness of the fruit of that externally. If God's called you to do it and stick with it, and you're like, it's not working, it's working. You're building persistence. You're building determination. You're building grit. You're building wisdom, stick-to-itiveness. You're growing. Maybe God's greatest gift to you is that you change before anything around you changes. And the change that happens in here depends on the repetition that we allow ourselves to embody by doing the thing over and over and over again. So that's my word for today. Keep doing the thing. And my word for myself, keep showing up in my bathroom with you guys. Keep posting on social media and believing that God has told me to do this. And so as I do it, it's doing something in me, even if things externally aren't changing. So I hope that this blesses you. If you don't know, I'm going on tour this October. I'm beyond excited about it. Still a little bit in shock, but beyond excited. I'll be going on tour with Tasha Cobbs, Leonard, with Naomi Rain, and with Dr. Jackie Green, and we will be having the Whole and Free tour, a tour unlike any other tour I'm sure that is out there that's about mental health, worship, and community. I'm so excited to be there. I would hope to see you there. Charlotte, we're going to Charlotte. I'm here. So come to the 15 cities starting October 21st. I'll see you guys there, and stick to it. Things may not be changing outside of you, but they are changing on the inside first. Bye, guys.